Good morning, everybody. It looks like the fallout of Mr. Trudeau's SNC Lavalin fiasco is continuing to fall out. TJ Harvey, another Liberal Member of Parliament, MP, has decided to not reoffer. And he says in a tweet, quote, "I've decided not to reoffer in the upcoming federal election. This is an important decision and not one that has come easily. Read my statement here." And yes, I just highlighted the important parts. He says, quote, "I've decided not to reoffer in the upcoming federal election. This is an important decision and not one that has come easily. Earlier this month, I informed the Prime Minister of my decision and conveyed my sincere thanks for having had the opportunity to work on behalf of New Brunswickers and rural Canadians from across the country. I remain fully supportive of the efforts of our Liberal government, our Prime Minister, and the Liberal Party of Canada, and have thoroughly enjoyed my public role." I scroll down. "I look forward to the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. My personal decision is about my desire to return to the private sector. Although I am not certain on my specific plans, I very much look forward to contributing to work with and advocate on behalf of the New Brunswick businesses and the growth of our economy. Small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of our economy, and I know I can continue to play a role in their success and contribution to economic development for the benefit of those not only in my community, but for New Brunswick as a whole." I wonder what his opinion on the carbon tax is and how that works with regards to small businesses and the big sweetheart deals that his government is giving to firms like SNC Lavalin or the Belledune, exempting them from the carbon tax completely. So what does that do? What does that say about the carbon tax, right? If you're exempting one of the biggest emitters, is that really going to be a carbon tax? But also you're punishing the little guy, the small business owner who owns a corner store and his electricity prices have doubled because he's getting hit with a carbon tax? I don't know. It seems like a bad plan, Mr. Harvey, and it seems like if you want to affect change, you're currently in the government and you might be able to affect change for small businesses. You might be in absolutely the best place to affect change for small businesses by telling your Prime Minister, this is not a plan that works. Anyway, it's your decision, I guess, sir, but it seems like there's more to this story, but your statement speaks for itself. So link is in the description if you want to read the rest of it. Here is Bill Morneau, Will Ferrell lookalike and sometimes finance minister, saying that Jerry Butts quit so he can defend himself. And I got sent this link, so thank you to the person who sent it, but I'm just blown away by the missteps of this government. At the end of this, he turns around because they're screaming questions like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Defend what? What are you talking about? And he turns around and it looks like he's going to further explain the answer. Like he's realized he's made a mistake. No, he turns around to come to just say the exact same thing in French. And the person turns off the camera. He's like, oh my God. So here we go.
Well, what I can say is I have an enormous amount of respect for Jerry Butts, and I know Jerry has an enormous amount of respect for Canadian institutions. My sense is that he's decided, and I think appropriately, to defend himself against people saying things that just aren't true.
But why do you have to defend yourself?
Why resign if he's done nothing?
Right? My goodness. Oh. So the missteps of this government are just compounding, right? Like these people are rattled, and I think they don't know what to say. You don't say defend yourself unless there's a legal context. It doesn't seem fitting in this context, really, at this point, until we get something from Miss Raybould, right? Like defend himself against what? So far, the allegation is the PMO interfered, and all of this just looks like they're confirming that they interfered, and they're going to defend the interference because it wasn't really interference, but we're going to defend it, what we did. The non-issue, the thing that's totally above board and legal. I'm going to quit and defend myself from that non-allegation that has been made in the paper that I've categorically denied that I'm going to defend myself against. What? So, right? Like there's a lot of questions and no answers. And that statement by Mr. Morneau makes more questions. It doesn't help anything. It made all of the reporters in the press pool there go, hey, wait a second. So pretty funny. And the last story for this morning, the Global News is reporting, and this is an IPSOs poll, care of Global News. It's copywritten, so I'm not allowed to rebroadcast without giving without giving due credit. So credit to these guys. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for publishing it. And links in the description. I don't know if I need to do more than that. Anyway, Trudeau government leaks support in wake of SNC Lavalin Wilson-Raybould matter Ipsos poll. And it says the Trudeau government is leaking political support in the wake of the resignation of its former justice minister, making its chances of re-election this fall far less certain than they've seemed to be at year's end, according to a new poll provided exclusively to Global News. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's personal approval ratings are down. A declining number of Canadians think his government deserves re-election, and Andrew Scheer's Conservatives narrowly lead the Liberals on the ballot box question. This is the worst couple of weeks the PM has had since the India trip, says Daryl Bricker, CEO of polling firm Ipsos. The biggest problem is that it hits at what gives the Liberal Party its appeal, the Prime Minister. And I want to point out here, number one, they're trying to compare this to the India thing. This is way bigger than the India thing. Nobody was going to jail for India. I mean, sure, they brought a terrorist a terrorist who attempted to assassinate people to a state dinner in India. That's bad, right? Like, that's bad optics, but it's not illegal. In this, they've got somebody in the Prime Minister's inner circle looking at 10 years in jail if obstruction of justice is proven. And it looks like somebody needs to defend themselves from something. I'm not sure. I wonder if they got like the letter from the lawyer probably from Jody Wilson-Raybould's lawyer. Probably, if you're a good lawyer, you tell your client, don't do this in public, you do this in private, right, until it needs to go public. And I'm sure there is going to be a point when it needs to go public. But I wonder if the lawyer sent a letter and said, this is what we've got, and this is what she's going to say, and you do with that what you will. And they went, he's got to go. And then the fallout is going to be what the fallout is. I'm looking forward to question period today, and there's some press availability from Mr. Trudeau as well. So I'm looking forward to watching all of those, because this isn't going away. Jerry Butts is the first domino to drop. And the fact that domino is such a big domino, I don't know where we're going. Okay, back to this. Ipsos was in the field last week after revelations surfaced that last fall, while the Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould felt that unnamed individuals in the Prime Minister's office were pressuring her to intervene in a criminal court case in favor of Quebec's-based engineering giant SNC Lavalin. Those allegations were first reported by the Globe and Mail, citing unnamed sources. If she did feel pressured, she did not act and did not intervene on behalf of SNC Lavalin. But a few months later, she was shuffled out of her job as Justice Minister and Attorney General and into the job of Veteran Affairs Minister. Then last week, as Liberals themselves seemed divided over optics of seeing the country's first ever Indigenous minister being shuffled aside for what appeared to be craven political calculations, Wilson-Raybould stepped down from cabinet altogether. Meanwhile, all through the week, Trudeau and other Liberals struggled to explain what happened, while Wilson-Raybould announced that she had retained a former Supreme Court justice to provide her with advice about what, if anything, she might say about the whole matter. Voters took notice. Ipsos found that among the 1,002 Canadians it surveyed online from Thursday through Monday, nearly half, or 49%, say they were aware of this rapidly shifting story involving SNC Lavalin, Trudeau, and Jody Wilson-Raybould. And it appears many are changing their opinion of the government as a result. Support for the Trudeau Liberals is now at 34% of the decided and leaning voters, down 4 percentage points from a poll Ipsos did in December. In the 2015 election, the Trudeau Liberals won their commanding majority with 39% of the vote. Scheer's Conservatives appear to have benefited from the slide. The party is now at 36%, up 3 points since the end of 2018. And lastly, the poll was out of the field before Monday's afternoon bombshell news that Gerald Butts had quit his post as the Prime Minister's principal secretary. Butts, one of Trudeau's closest friends, had played a critical role in the revival of the Liberal fortunes and was, along with Trudeau's chief of staff, Katie Telford, central to Trudeau's administration. Butts said he has done nothing wrong but was resigning to avoid being a further distraction to the government's agenda. In any event, Ipsos found that even before the additional turmoil, voters' approval of the Trudeau government had dropped 9 points since the beginning of the year, down to 42% in its most recent pulse taking. Trudeau's own personal approval rating is now 2 points lower than it was after his disastrous trip to India this time last year. Those who strongly disapprove of his performance now outnumber those who strongly approve by a margin of 4-1. So, and they're hiding the percentage points by stating it this way, right? Like that's a huge margin. Like 20% are approving. Yeah, that's it. Not even. So it is quite interesting. And I wanted to point out, I've heard a rumor that Gerald Butts might be running the re-election campaign. Like, there was a rumor, and I can't remember, I couldn't find the link. Somebody sent it to me, and I read it, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, and I didn't put it in my usual list. But the hubbub is that he was going to be taking a quote leave of absence to focus on the re-election campaign anyway. And this is, that was the spin they were trying to come up with last night, I guess, maybe before I went to bed. So I wanted to mention that because I thought it was worthwhile, but sorry, I don't have the link. The rest of the links are in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. We're back to work, eh? Well, what can you do? That's how news gets made. I'll be watching this afternoon. Can't wait. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.